Hey, what's going on there?
Blend them all together again.
Yeah, I've done that. And you won't believe what I add to my chocolate. I have spice, like hot spices, like Kenya, cayenne pepper. I add to it. Oh my gosh, it makes it really good.
Oh, yeah.
Cayenne, they say, is very good.
Right. Well, the cinnamon is good for,
Yeah.
sugar control and stuff like that. I throw it in there because it also adds just that extra nice little flavor.
Yeah.
The cinnamon flavor.
Sometimes I'll throw in, the last couple of times I've used the,
And then,
hot,
and then
that
touch
hot
the
chocolate
coconut
thing.
milk. Oh, the heavenly
The
mix.
heavenly mix.
I've done that too.
Yeah.
I'll mix her up, immunity. The immunity, which is the mixture
Yeah,
of.
all those mushrooms.
Right.
Okay.
And then,
I have an extract that I just ordered for a client of mine, because she's having
the heavenly.
she's having a lot of issue, and drainage issues.
But I like
So,
having
because
the start of the cashew milk at the end.
Yeah. I gotta get that.
It's the
And I
actual,
just put a little bit,
the color indigo.
you don't need to, I don't even blend it, I just.
It's the root of the indigo plant.
Because it's
The
past.
color that they dye from, the
I just
indigo
pour a little
plant
in,
creates
stir it.
Yeah.
dye out of it. It's the root of that plant.
And it knocks the juice down just a little bit.
Yeah,
so it's not so hot.
Right. And I don't like that hot anyway.
Yeah.
You order some and try it. There's a lot of people with the aerosol issues and the radiation issues coming in, and I know just with the CLL, there could be some definite relief there from getting cancer. And have you tried castor oil patch?
No.
I haven't done it yet,
So that would be the other thing that I would think about as well too, just because then you could actually, put the castor oil directly on there, throw the heating pad next to it for 15-20 minutes, and see if you can
However, you're,
get some of that to leave
just what you sent me and directly said, don't use a heating pad, use a
I like
hot water bottle.
Yeah, hot water bottle or the microwave flaxseed packs, things like that, instead of the electronic heating pads. But you can
But they have to on saying what?
and you can put it on cotton or you can put it on ace bandages or something like that. You can reuse them. But you just soak that in the castor oil, slap it on there, put something, saran wrap or whatever to kind of hold it in that location, and put some sort of heating material to it, and let it sit there for as long as you can.
Don't put your head in
If you want to, it's up to you.
Get by.
Yes.
Do we have questions before you start?
We do, of course. I didn't
Well,
get a
at
message
least
from
I was
Stephanie.
prepared for you. And I can say what you want to put there and put here. Okay? What do you want? I know, I was going to give you.
Microwave.
You ever seen that magazine before?
Is that?
Ricky.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, very, very.
She asked for one and she didn't get one.
Yeah. But they just come, I wouldn't come through.
It's kind of like a high class.
What's the magazine for?
No.
It's a,
My own children and my own family think I'm crazy for doing this.
Really?
They think that you're crazy, you're nuts.
I was talking to
Even
you.
anything with essential oils or this, they go, you're nuts. You think you're a hippie. I've been called all kinds of things.
I have a guy.
That's to watch Dr. Oz.
Yeah.
I ordered it last Thursday.
I sent it to him. I said, go see Michael. Go see Michael, and he will explain it a lot better than I can.
It's taking you a week
Yeah, keep your mind
to
on it.
get the,
Oh, well.
don't worry, we'll ship it to you.
Yeah, somebody came in recently. A
Guys,
couple
I
people have
set
come
up a
in
bunch
from
of
you.
people for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said, go see I can't explain it like they can explain it, so go talk to them.
We save a lot of money on marketing that way.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Word of mouth. Alright, how's it going, guys?
In fact, they accused me of getting paid.
Does anybody want anything else before we shut it down? Water?
So you're just gonna put everything away, just some chaga in, just some chaga tea will be fine.
Do you want me to leave it on hot?
No.
So just,
I don't
in
know.
a,
Oh, yeah, just on the cup.
I was talking to a guy in the hospital the other day, he was talking about an acre or something or other. I was telling him, and he's like, well, you know, just get some magnesium, or just magnesium oil, start with that. I don't like that. You know, they talk about this.
Yeah.
I don't like that. It's sulfur.
Well, it goes back to that whole like, are you 3? You know, like, well, what do you mean? You know, like, I'm having an
They don't
adult.
even try it.
Yeah, I'm having. We can have an adult conversation about the idea that you're in pain. I have a potential solution. And no, I just don't.
The other question that I get a lot when I'm talking about this stuff, does the insurance cover it? I said, it's food.
FSAs and HSAs.
Why would insurance cover it?
You can, but it's your own insurance. FSAs and HSAs, you can submit just about everything to them.
Yeah, over the counter stuff.
Yeah.
This was considered over the counter stuff.
Like even my health coaching, if you have an FSA or an HSA, you can apply it
So
to.
it's not a HMO though?
Correct. But I mean, again, some work, depends on your work, or depends on if you set one up for yourself. Like FSAs are, they're great in a way because you get to shove $5,000 in there and get it back.
Well,
But then you have to use it in that calendar year, so
it's a user.
you have to use, you have to be
That's
excited
why
about
Yeah,
that.
I've been through it. Well,
Maybe you should boom like or something. The audio's not gonna be.
Well, so I mean, it does a pretty good job.
But when you watch stuff like that, the
Yeah.
audio's not, it's gonna be all ambient and weird and
oh
echoey.
yeah, you better get rid.
It's not gonna be great. It's not gonna be pleasurable to listen
This is why I gotta have my AD guy taking care of things.
to. Well,
But anyway,
yeah, we'll work on it. I mean, you can use the wireless right now.
Not on mine, remember?
I kinda know that, that's why
We never got it to work.
I'm.
'Cause mine has the dual jack. Remember, it doesn't work very well. So,
You wanna put it on this one? Yeah,
that's fine.
for the future though.
Good, yeah.
I didn't understand the email status till later.
One other question, Joseph.
Yes.
Every time I have eaten, I'll eat them because I know they're good for you, with avocado, but I eat just very little. I mean, like literally a real thin slice. When I eat any more than that,
I've been trying to get.
I get sick to my stomach. Is it because of the fat
I
content?
still want to know.
Do you have your gallbladder?
Yeah.
Does your gallbladder might be
Yeah.
not working so well?
Yeah.
There's a chance. Now, if you're eating like a tablespoon of oil, then you get the same reaction.
No. Because I do the D3, the turmeric, I do all of those. The omega, come to think of it, the omega does make me kind of.
But not the same as the
But
avocado.
the avocado dip, I feel like I'm gonna eat with the omega just a taste.
There's a chance you could have a weird allergy to it.
My gallbladder.
Have you tried multiple styles of avocado? Do you only eat like Haas versus like Fuerte versus Pinkerton?
Yeah, just using Haas.
So,
Maybe I'm allergic.
switch over to one of the other varieties of avocado and see if it's the same reaction.
Yeah, because when I have sushi, they put the avocado in there.
Yeah.
That one doesn't bother me. I don't know why, but maybe because it's so little, it's tiny. So like if I have Mexican food, I cannot do the avocado.
Like guacamole.
I cannot do
Now, a
that.
lot of stuff can go into guacamole that you may not react well to.
Right.
So, but if you're just taking sliced avocado, most people have no issue.
And I just love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to eat it like crazy.
And there is always a potential for cross-allergy issues. So like, because you are sometimes eating meat or dairy and having avocado at the same time, then you can see an issue happen in the body. Because the two...
I'm wondering if it's the corn.
Could be corn.
The
Could be
corn,
very true.
every time I have avocado,
You're usually on corn, yeah.
Yeah.
It's possible. Well, thank you. I was sitting here going, please let her come, I don't want her not to be here tonight. Thank you. And then, before you take off, can you grab the dial on the fridge?
Yeah.
All right. We've got a lot to cover. I want to make sure we get through just about all of it. So I want to definitely welcome everybody this evening for the final class in Superfood Academy. So you guys are the inaugural, inaugural, right? Is that how you say that?
First timers.
First timers. So the great part about this whole thing is that, I thank you all for being here, for participating, for making it these 4 weeks and committing this, hour and a half to sometimes 2 hours worth of your time each week to really get through the concepts and the philosophies behind superfood eating and functional diets and getting nutrition levels up in your own bodies. But of course, I'd love to hear, I was already sharing with Teresa, anybody trying anything new, different since last week regarding mushrooms or anything catching up that, again, I love your story. So you're talking, go ahead and share again.
About how
About
I
the,
okay, in the morning instead of, I never drank coffee anyway. But what I do, because you told me to warm it, okay, I've been doing it by coffee.
Right.
The reishi, shaga, but he has a good idea. The dragon tea would be a good additive to it. And all the mushrooms you talked about.
Yeah.
I mix them and then I put heavenly chocolate in it, or I'll put, whatever I feel.
Yeah, perfect.
Warm it up and.
Like I was telling her, cinnamon is a nice.
That's another good, cinnamon's another goodie. Yeah.
Well, we're learning a lot about the earth tonight, so you can kind of see how some of these will play along. But that's great. So any noticeable changes, differences, anything?
I've been sleeping like a rock.
Yeah. Okay,
I mean,
good.
I can't get up. I mean, I'm waking up, I go, oh my gosh, it's 8:20.
But there's a lot
And I've never done that.
Yeah,
Usually 5 o'clock my eyes are, popping open.
Mm-hmm.
Not sleeping well.
Right. Fantastic.
Yeah,
I love
so
hearing that there's good
that's
benefits.
And I noticed, usually during the night I get up to go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I go like at 12, say.
Okay.
I'm sleeping till, like I said, this morning it was 8:20 when I look over at the clock and John leaves like at 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm just, go, wow, why am I sleeping so long?
Good blessing, though. I
Yeah.
like that. That's a great thing to have happen. And again, I think it's interesting because we're kind of experiencing a little bit of that June sort of gloomy weather,
yeah.
where the sun's not bright and
Right.
not away first thing in the morning. So good time to actually get caught up on that. So I like that.
And I've been eating it because I haven't been sleeping good because I was eating up every 2 hours.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Love hearing it. Anybody else? Big stories?
Well, I've been doing the morning mix with the proteins. And a lot of the stuff that she's using, but in the evenings I've routinely been doing just some of the mushrooms, reishi and sometimes the immunity mix in there and all. But I've been sleeping better as well.
Yeah.
Even the nights that I choose not to make the drink, my body's starting to
Have the effect of it.
have the effect. Like last night I didn't make it. And she made a comment about how restful I had slept last night.
Yeah, good. Well, I like hearing that. I love hearing that. So with us rounding out the 4 parts of this, going from the berries through the foods, doing the mushrooms, and finally coming to the herbal side of superfoods. We're going to drop into, and I think understand a little more of, like you're saying, some of the accessory functions, to where you can actually start to finally come to a full realization of understanding how all of this together is what I believe forms the best basis. And Phil and I were talking about for allowing healing to occur. It's not that it's going to sometimes immediately create it, but sometimes it's the fact you finally start sleeping fully, that your body now has that opportunity to be recuperative. We're going to do the 5 Essentials class again on Thursday, tomorrow, and that's that initial starting block for a lot of people to get going on just the idea of healing their bodies at all. But it really, the two hand in hand the platform of using superfoods as a basis for nutrition. We talked about the idea of skipping a breakfast and having more of a replacement shake, or if you're more apt to having food on the road for lunch, take some sort of mixed, tonic or superfood smoothie with you so you can move out those potential bad food choices and options. Since most fast food just really isn't functional for us, it's not giving us this great basis. Once we kind of went through the proteins and the food items that we kind of mentioned in week 2, the idea was to be able to begin basically starting your own. So the second. We'll probably set it up here in the next week or two, but starting June, we're going to be doing Saturday classes, and we will have the opportunities for people to again come in and learn how to focus a little more on how to make these actual shakes, do juices that are
hands-on workshop.
or hands-on.
You know what I think would be great?
What?
If you guys would do a fast food kind of thing to the drive-through with these shakes.
We'll think about it.
I think that would be good.
Yeah. No, I love the platform, and I think the idea is fantastic. Like I say, it's interesting because we're seeing the availability for that thinking to be coming around.
Yeah, because I think if you make it convenient for people,
Oh yeah.
they're gonna try. At least they'll try it once.
Correct.
Correct. And then when they start feeling not bloated, not all those things, because I do the stock market.
Yeah.
And I watched my McDonald's is really taking a dive. But what is that telling me? People want to eat healthier. 30% they dropped.
Yeah.
30%. That's a big drop. So that tells me people want to eat healthier. So now I'm going to change it to Panera. Or something else.
Yes.
Well, yeah, something, look out.
2 companies just came out and said by the end of the year they're going to start or get rid of all the artificial.
Yeah.
Pizza
Pizza Hut's doing it now. Domino's is trying. It is
Pizza's bad all around, but
it can be better.
yeah,
It
it could. Yeah.
But yeah, it is interesting.
But I'm
You're
noticing
exactly
people
right.
want a healthier choice.
Saturdays are going to be on.
Saturdays will be very interesting. So we'll get the ability to kind of take a little bit from this style of class, where you've been grabbing all the depth of the knowledge about each of the individual items, and finally get that blender in your hand to see, okay, what is it that I can really do? Where can I go? And the great thing, like you're saying, is that you're exactly right. Convenience is kind of the governing agent for most people.
Yeah.
A lot of people will even spend more money if it's for convenience.
Yes.
I do.
If it's convenient, I'll do it.
So like I say, I love that platform. But I want to go ahead and just kind of jump into our herbal section for the Superfood Academy tonight, and get people to kind of see and understand, like you're saying, how to sort of round out everything, because these herbs, although a lot of them can be used individually and they can have a great function for individuals when they're trying to find healing or help, they really do a lot of times play more of a symphony in things like our coffee fix, the bag of tricks, in our different blends, in our shakes, in our smoothies that we have, because it's hard to make something more than just like a tea with one herb mixed in. But when you do a complex shake, you can actually add in a lot of these different ideas. So ashwagandha being the first one we're going to kind of talk about this evening, is one of these great places to start, because we really want people to understand that, again, when we talk about herbs, the big buzzword for everyone to kind of take away from this class is adaptogenic. Adaptogenic is, again, very different than, say, things like garlic. Garlic isn't an adaptogen. It doesn't work with your body. It's very powerful and very, it's what we call single point or focused herbs, because it has one general antimicrobial, antifungal function, but it doesn't regulate itself in the bloodstream. If you take too much garlic, it'll actually cause a lot of issues in your stomach, in your digestive system, and eventually you get to the point where everyone can smell you no matter how far away you are. The interesting issues, though, is that it doesn't regulate itself in your bloodstream. So ashwagandha, being one of these great adaptogenic herbs, is one of these to where ashwagandha can be taken in the morning for energy and for actually boosting and getting rid of stress and fatigue out of the body, boosting energy, and then it can also be taken at night to enhance relaxation and create the ability to go to sleep with so much more rest and rejuvenation. So here you finally are starting to see in these herbals the great ability to see both functions. We love to focus on mostly adaptogenic herbs because the cautionary caveats and asterisks about how to use them sort of go out the window. Because if you overload on ashwagandha, instead of amping you up or stimulating your body too excessively, it'll eventually just cause you to go to sleep. It'll actually do the opposite effect. It'll self-regulate. If you're a person who needs more rest, more body rejuvenation, that's where the herb will actually focus. If you're using it more for stimulating energy, it'll actually have that operation. Your cells and the herb talk very excessively to each other, and as your blood system understands it, ashwagandha is one of these great places for a lot of people to begin because it kind of handles a very wide spectrum of different issues. So in our adrenal stress ease blend is one, and in our coffee fix we have the ashwagandha as a part of this. So one of the things I'd also like for everybody to kind of understand when it comes to what we're going to talk about tonight with all the rest of these herbs, a lot of herbs you want to pair, and we'll talk about the pairing of certain herbs. But the idea is one that's the more powerful herb, and then supporting herbs, which is a very Chinese medicine style practice. So the idea is you wouldn't throw a lot of, say, ashwagandha and ginseng and those types of things together because each one of those is top order or high power herbs. You would do like ashwagandha with a little bit of, say, turmeric and tribulus, which they're really good. Our adrenal stress ease blend is a very well balanced blend for having ashwagandha and holy basil as the two power herbs, and then we have the tribulus and licorice to support the function of the other two. One of the nice things about also taking ashwagandha is you can use this very exclusively with reishi mushroom, and it has a tremendous, almost doubling effect. Because reishi is very balancing to the body organs. It does a great job at getting the immune system to be operational, and ashwagandha will help the stress of the body, energy, fatigue systems. And again, it's one of those where the two together work very holistically to cover almost all the body organ issues that you can go after. So when it comes to lung function, kidney function, liver function, all of those different areas, the two mixed together actually in a tea would be very wonderful in terms of their specific use.
Do you have it by itself, ashwagandha?
Not on the day-to-day basis, but of course it's one of those where you can always email and say I'd like to just get that one by itself. And we can make sure that certain items are spread apart. But again, the beautiful piece of, like I say, with the ashwagandha as an adaptogen is you finally can start to even begin, and this is one of the things that I love to focus most on, is the ability to use herbs in a functional dosing system. So you can take, say, on 1 day basis, 1/2 teaspoon. And then the next day, 1 teaspoon. And the next day, 1.5 teaspoon. And get to the point where you go, wow, I'm at, could be 2 teaspoons, 5 teaspoons, I don't know where your body will be, but all of a sudden you go, I have remarkable more energy at this moment having that much in my body. To where you can start to see with these herbs the ability to really retrain your system to operate. So ashwagandha is one of the easy ones, like I say, because it really has the ability to go on those both directions as an adaptogen, to where if you take too much, you'll just be a little tired. And again, it's not sedative. It's not going to literally cause you to fall asleep walking. It's just going to be relaxing. It's going to get you to the point to where, and you can find that level for your body. So it's very unique how the operation of it will work with your system. But so we'll kind of talk a little bit about how each one of these in their own way can be used in that functional dosing system and how to start pairing them. But ashwagandha and reishi, fantastic little blending there between those two for mushroom nutrition as well as doing herbal nutrition. So, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was. The other thing that's really interesting to mention now before we get into the rest of the herbs A lot of the herbs are not specifically going to be used for nutrition to the body. It's more micronutrients and certain compounds. Kind of like we talked about the berries. The berries had certain polyphenols, certain compounds that actually had an effect on the body, more so than they will be in terms of adding carbohydrate or protein or oil or anything of that nature to the system. So that's one of the other big pieces to where they go well inside complex mixtures where something else is actually taking up more of the caloric sort of nutrition, the macronutrient structure. So anything else that's really interesting about the but morning, night, you can use it both ways. Big thing with ashwagandha. Big thing to keep in check with. So, holy basil is our next one. Holy basil, kind of like ashwagandha, in a way that it actually does great, and a lot of people use it for mood balance and function. Holy basil does have a lot more stabilization to the immune system, and definitely working on people as one of the primary forms for heart disease, skin care, really, really good at bacterial management inside the gut system, and holy basil is also another one that I think's been used very extensively with ashwagandha in a lot of Ayurvedic herbal mixtures because of the broad spectrum benefits. Adaptogenics, so again, one of those to where you can actually use holy basil as much of your body will functionally tell you you're getting to that point of mood stabilization from it. It's one of those to where high anxiety people can take, again, half a teaspoon, 2 teaspoons. The only difference with holy basil is the flavor is extremely intense. So it's one of those to where it's tough for people to overdose because basil itself is just a very concentrated flavor. Even though holy basil has kind of a similar effect to the body, it's definitely one of those where we want people to see. But mood stabilization, mood balancing is one of the better uses that I would say most people can get out of holy basil. And this is another one that I think works really well blending with cordyceps mushroom, as we talked before. Cordyceps mushroom, camelberry, holy basil, fantastic. Better than emergency kind of way to take care of your body during any sort of cold, flu, any kind of issues that we see in terms of being very antiviral, really good for regenerating the actual respiratory system. Definitely going to be cutting down a lot of the excess mucus production. So we get some really good benefits from using that in conjunction with other herbs as well too. You see holy basil available in everything from a tea down to powders, tinctures, extracts. But it is one where I would say a lot of people even now are starting to use it as a topical for skincare. They're using it in a lot of toothpaste and oral care for the antiviral function and for the anti-inflammatory function. It's definitely one of those to where I would say for most people, you're probably going to start off with even a 16th to a quarter of a teaspoon on the day-to-day basis. And this is one of the few that I would say also does really well at being an herbal tea just by itself. Just holy basil and water, a great way for people to kind of get used to the functionality of it and see how it begins to change the way the body overall feels. So you could almost say this is the month of June coming up here. In June, I'm just going to start taking half a teaspoon of holy basil every day and see how my body changes, see how I feel. What's going to be the biggest benefits there?
We're actually close. I can tell people.
But as you go through, and like I say, and understand holy basil, this is definitely one of those places to try and understand how your body reacts to this particular herb and find out your functional level for when you see the best mood stabilization. Combine this, like I say, with with even cashews, a great other, mood stabilizer, really good way of being, it's actually a very wonderful route for stabilizing blood sugar. So when we come to people trying to figure out how to be better on their operation with glucose management and insulin management, definitely something where we see a lot of benefit from licorice. We also see it really well functioning inside the intestines for getting rid of IBS, any kind of inflammation, especially caused by extraneous bacteria overload. So we have that kind of unique function where peppermint and licorice are two that I would say do a very good job at working on the inside lining of the actual colon, and definitely working to remedy everything from ulcers to diverticulitis, working really well for rebuilding the overall structure inside the digestive cavity. That's another herb that I think a lot of people might have tried licorice candy, and that was their farthest they've ever gone with it. And that's fine and all, as a great place to go, but as an herbal, you really want to be reaching to the point of 2, 3, maybe even 5 grams a day if you're trying to build up an overall glucose stabilizing diet with this particular herb. So if your main attraction to licorice is for blood sugar stabilization, definitely be trying to find a way to get the powder and be able to take as much of that powder as you start to see your body regulating the overall glucose levels on a day-to-day basis.
You don't carry that?
Licorice not by itself. We have licorice, again, I think it's inside the adrenal stress ease blend. It's in Bag of Tricks. It might be in pristine proteins, or maybe we took that out of pristine proteins. But again, it's one of those to where pretty much everything you're going to ask for dependently, and we can try to, to get individual
The one
bags.
thing I have found though with licorice root, it does raise my blood pressure.
Blood pressure?
I don't know why.
Which one?
Licorice?
Yeah.
Which, with the adrenal stress ease blend?
Yeah. I've done it.
How far, high, and how much? It could be the tribulus.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Because it's very pro-muscle flow. Blood
Okay.
pressure could be doing something there.
Yeah.
So that might be something to stay
Because
away
I've
from.
taken it in the past before this, like in teas and that kind of stuff.
Right.
It never fails. The licorice root raises my blood pressure.
Again, interesting thing about herbs is that most of them can be anything from an aphrodisiac to a sedative. It depends on your body. So certain ones where, like I say, the tribulus is one we'll talk about. It definitely works in that way of causing for better blood flow, I guess is the best way to call it. And you can see that, and so that's probably more likely. If you're getting licorice in other ways, it's definitely a stimulant in a lot of people, and that's where it actually has been used for things like weight loss, because it does kind of activate the metabolism of the human body, and you can see some better function there. But if it's causing that issue, it's one of those where maybe a little bit no big deal. If it's presence at all is causing an issue, good to know that about your system and see how you can kind of figure out where you don't have to be taking it. But it is one of those where
Because you can be allergic to some of this, right?
your body can be technically allergic or have a reaction you don't enjoy to anything. So that's one of the great places to start at, though. And again, as you're working with all the different herbs, you again start off with very low dose, see how your body reacts, what's the effect, do I like that effect? You go through that operation of understanding for your own system how things are going.
Is that a long-term or quick effect on you, or?
No, it's like a week into it, it goes up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Just what's the best way she can contact you about health coaching?
Cart, send an email.
Okay, thank you.
Fantastic, thank you. So, really good for sore throats, really good for acid reflux, can be functional inside the body for heart disease issues, kidney disease, like say we said, the diabetic.
See, and here it says good for people with the following conditions should not take. Oh, it says
Correct.
blood pressure.
Correct.
Maybe I just naturally have it.
You can.
You know,
And that's where increasing magnesium, cacao, and all those things can help bring it down. Hibiscus, yeah, exactly. And see how your body, is again reacting whenever you can go back to it. But if there's a loading phase and then a reaction system that your body's experiencing, again, that's just one of those where it's good to know that and to stay away from it. But so that's definitely one of those to where we don't want, with a lot of the medications that are out there, licorice is one that we have to caution a lot of people on, because it can have interactions, and it will sometimes intensify and sometimes, mitigate. So that's one of those to where you're looking for, for the best system. But understand that even though there's a cautionary side to this, there's also the concept of ask a practitioner, get somebody to track you. If you're going to do the work on your own, see how your body actually responds. If you're looking for something to be diabetically balanced, and even this says do not take it for diabetes, it's because if you're on metformin, it's going to drop the function of your metformin, and then you can go into hypoglycemia. So that's one of those where, it has an effect. Is it actually the right effect or good effect, and is it healing the body? Great, that's what you're kind of looking for. So you can see that have an overall better benefit to your system, and it definitely, can be one of those to where check to see what the side effects could be, and try to actually understand how you can see that being the actual solution for your system. So that's one of those big pieces of understanding here, is that, yes, it may affect it, but it could be a good thing. And again, a lot of this research is done to caution people away from natural healing and from using superfoods in order to get their body to be balanced. So we don't want to just say, okay, buy that concept if we want to be on the more natural side, if we want to be using superfoods in the way that they're doing what they're doing. But there is a ton of research on most of these herbs that's used in a way of saying, if you have these medical conditions, don't ever get involved with them, but you can work with other things. Okay, Tribillus. So, to go into what you were talking about just a second ago. Tribillus is an amazing herb for a lot of different reasons. It's definitely one of those that long-standing effect and use of it can be done for everything from hormone replacement therapy to erectile dysfunction removal. Really good for muscle growth, for overall athletic performance. Tribillus has a tendency to be what we call an androgen, meaning it actually promotes the production of testosterone. Now, as much as most people think testosterone, the concept of, people with extremely large muscles, testosterone does that one function, yes, but it also has a much better function in our bodies, and that's cellular vitality. So when we keep good high levels, not high, but when we keep good levels of testosterone in our bodies, we actually overall have a better way of regenerating cells versus proestrogenics, or things that they raise estrogens in the body, actually can create the ability for improper cellular division or non-apoptosis or cellular die-off. So testosterone keeps us healthier, younger, and works well in our body for actually getting our cells to be very vitalistic. It actually will create the proper apoptosis signals inside the cells for them to self-destruct when they're no longer functioning properly. And that's one of those where we see high estrogenic societies, extreme levels of cancer occurring. So Tribillus is a nice, subtle, easy way of allowing for protestosterone development without actually taking exogenous testosterone to the body. So as an androgen, it does that great job at boosting our natural production levels. We just have to be very careful that we're not doing a process called aromatization, which is where we're converting our testosterone into estrogen. In our hormones, the way that our hormones operate, our hormones actually have a system, a feedback loop that says when we reduce from one progesterone, we get the option of producing a testosterone. So what?
Is that next one?
Yeah.
Have it?
Sure.
Thank you.
We get the option of producing a testosterone or an estrogen. If you are aromatizing, that testosterone that's produced can be converted over to an estrogen as well too. So we can a lot of times see hyperestrogenation occurring in a body that has too much aromatase molecule. There's no reverse feedback system that takes estrogen and converts it back to testosterone. So when we push everything to be hyperestrogen containing, then we want to actually find ways, and we'll talk about the herb that actually reduces aromatase in the body in order to see better overall testosterone levels. One of the unique things that to carry with you from this class is also the fact that as you create more estrogens in the body, you also can directly decrease the ability for there to be proper thyroid functioning hormone. So TSH levels will drop. So if you're aromatizing and you're creating too much estrogen in the body in that hormone sequence, it also could be affecting your thyroid, and you actually have zero thyroid issue. You actually have a high estrogen issue. And there are 3 forms of estrogen, estradiol 1, 2, and 3. We found more frequently that if you have an overabundance of 2, you're more likely in this situation of having what's aromatizing body. So if that's the case, get the 3 versions of estrogen tested and find out which one's the highest, and then we can try to use the herbal material to correct the situation. So again, testosterone is good. Too much, obviously not a great thing. There is some truth to the concept of roid raging, but we want enough testosterone being produced inside the body for us to keep our cells extremely healthy. It's unique because even when the women may not know it, you actually have, you should have an adequate amount of testosterone in your body in order to keep cancer levels down and to keep your body balanced in a hormone way. The difference is that a lot of women need to maintain a 3-to-1 estrogen to testosterone balance, and then it's more 1-to-1. So again, everybody has testosterone, and you need to keep at healthy levels regardless of which gender you are. Routine chronic low testosterone creates everything from depression to improper bone function, ligament issues, connective tissues. It really does, again, it's not just for libido, it does a great job for energy. A lot of people really need to see improvement in our testosterone levels. Plastics destroy a lot of our hormone, and this is one of those ways that we know our environment is causing an effect on us. Besides all the chemicals inside the food from the fertilizers, pesticides, things of that nature, also breaking down our hormones and causing this high estrogen focus. Again, this is one of those few herbs we can take in order to see levels of your testosterone improve. If you start on a regimen in order to do a hormone style replacement therapy, that's a natural-based hormone replacement therapy, I would suggest saliva testing your hormones at least every 6 months. So blood testing for hormones is actually very improper for understanding your body's utilization of hormones. The interesting piece about this is that your blood serum concentration for certain hormones can be very high or very low until you change your activity, your stress levels, your foods, and then your body will release hormones when they're necessary. So the blood actually doesn't tell us as well what's going on inside the human system as much as the saliva does. The saliva actually tells us what our body is using in terms of our hormones, and that shows us the overall functionality.
And who checks that?
Again, any really good endocrinologist should do saliva testing, or you can actually order your own in-home kits. Because again, all you'll do is stick a little piece of paper into the saliva, and then put that in a little plastic baggie and send it out to the lab. And then they pull all of the actual hormones away from that.
Oh, that's simple.
Very simple, but very improperly not used to diagnose, treat, and operate humans, which is very sad because we shove a lot of exogenous hormone into people with a lot of times very rarely testing routine. And this system is one of those to where you can drastically affect a person's body for years by giving them too much, not enough, or any kind of outside hormone function. So naturally, what's great about things like Travilus is it, again, is a progenitor for testosterone. It doesn't actually give you any testosterone. So your body gets the choice to be able to produce its own if it actually needs that stimulation. Most people, again, our society, this is what we're short on. Travilus, there's a lot of different blends that come away from the function of the plant. You can see some interesting combinations to where the extracts have higher doses of the saponin, which is what is creating the overall function inside the actual testosterone production. And we do see that very rarely there's any kind of interactions. Sometimes the one thing we do notice is that people who will consume the plant raw or not dehydrated or extracted through alcohol or water means, there's an interesting neurotoxicity and body issue, but very rarely are we going to have that problem. Most people are growing their own Travilus to be able to use it raw. The other thing that's kind of interesting about Travilus, really, really good for the kidneys, for the bladder. So for a lot of people who have weakened muscle wall or lack of control of bladder function, this is a great place to start. And that's one of those, really good things. Again, heart strengthening, muscle strengthening, bladder strengthening, really, really good material to start using on a routine basis. If you're common for bladder infections, then this is a place where I would again consider adding this as a possible treatment system, along with a compound called D-mannose, which is the right probiotic sugar for the bladder to actually decrease the overall routineness of bladder infection.
So in what manner do you use, is it a source here?
So we do a 20% extract.
And is it separately packaged? Or
we have it with Mucuna. We'll learn about Mucuna in a little bit. And then we also have Travilus in the adrenal stress ease blend for balancing the adrenal complexes and the hormones of the body.
So it's packaged two ways?
Yep.
What was the first one it's with?
The Mucuna, Mucuna and the Travilus blend versus the adrenal stress ease blend.
Just I noticed a lot of people that I know have thyroid issues with their getting their thyroid. My neighbor, my cousin, another neighbor, and having an issue with our environment, of course, and with plastics and stuff.
Plastics, radiation, birth control.
Plastics, like plastic bottled water?
Bottled water, definitely. Again, BPA, bisphenol A, is one of these compounds we know directly destroys the hormone levels inside the human body. So when you see BPA-free containers, what's funny is there's still 40,000 chemicals in a plastic bottle. So it's not that you're helping yourself out at all. If you're using stainless steel, I actually read a story this last week that showed that everyone should really be drinking out of copper. And again, copper is so essential for maintaining good blood iron levels, for balancing any kind of hemochromatosis or anemia issues, that if you're routinely drinking out of copper bottles, it actually has a very good job. And it's very funny because copper is a very world-renowned pots, pans. A lot of people eat off copper in other countries. And there's some adage, there's some truth to the adage, being born with a silver spoon in your mouth. We use colloidal silver here as an antibiotic. The concept of being born with a silver spoon means you very rarely had any childhood illnesses in the last 400 or 500 years. So the idea was you're eating off silver and getting a little bit of silver ion with every meal, versus the cheaper version, pewter, doesn't have that function. So it's unique because we're understanding a little more of this ionic mineralization. But as we're talking here, yeah, we're definitely seeing some issues with the plastic. Most people are improperly giving up hope on rehabilitation for their thyroid. They don't understand that their food, the plastics, the water, everything is destroying their thyroid, and once you remove the thyroid, the functionality of your human body is so minimized. And once you take it away and remove it surgically, there's nothing I can do to fix it. If you don't have that done, then the idea is there is something that we can start to work on. Iodine deficiency creates a ton of toxicity. The rest of the environment issues aren't helping. Radioactive iodine from Fukushima is everywhere in our country, and that's going to create a tremendous issue in the next 15 to 20 years as well, too. Thyroid cancers, cancers of the throat, esophagus, sinuses are going to go up from just breathing in general radiation from the Fukushima aftermath. So this is definitely a problem, and it is an epidemic. Like I say, the book to read is Stop the Thyroid Madness. Fantastic novel. But for people who have already had the surgery,
Does it take iodine or
your
something
body will try to fix the issue by usually increasing body weight and adipose stores in order to create as much of the hormone as possible. And it's unique as well, too, because there are stories, anecdotally so, but I still have to put them out there, where people, after having their thyroid removed, cleaned up their body, got their act together, and actually were able to regenerate their thyroids, even though they've been cut out of their body. There was enough tissue that was still there, and again, there's nothing you can't heal. There's nothing you can't heal. It's just, what are you going to do to get out of your own way of your own healing? That's usually where the issue comes in. And this is a lot of times, again, one of those things where with Trabilis, cellular function, anti-aging, regeneration is possible with proper testosterone management. So many people are so hyperestrogenized that there's just very little hope until they can start to balance that issue with this particular herb in order to see that the system start to correct itself. Yes?
On some cans, they'll say it's BPH or something. They're free of it anyway.
EPA free.
BPA?
Mm-hmm.
That's the same thing with the plastic?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. So, do you think it really matters that much in the cans either? Okay. Do you think cans are that bad?
Mm-hmm. Because again, the average shelf lifespan for the food you're eating to be in contact with the BPA plastic solids inside are anywhere between 6 months, a year, 5 years, depending on the particular canned product that you're taking in. Some people I know even keep their food in the can, so that's even worse. So again, all it takes is sunlight to activate the water bottle to go through the sidewall and put it in, have the plastic leaching into the water. And that's one of those tough issues. But just get the whole concept that by taking quote unquote BPA out and putting that on a label, there are still, on average, 40,000 other chemicals, and most of them are just as disruptive. It's just we have finally been able to get the courts and the FDA and the manufacturers to agree that there was a direct issue with BPA destroying hormones, creating cancers, and causing issues inside the body. So that's the tough part there. So again, Trabilis is one of these fantastic things. I would say for a lot of people, the unique thing about Trabilis is long-term duration benefits from taking it routinely. So sometimes a lot of people will be looking for Trabilis to be an instant fix for their energy or for their testosterone balance if they are a person who's been diagnosed with an issue. 2 to 3, sometimes 5, 6 months are necessary to finally get to the androgenic quality of testosterone boosting to naturally happen. If you're a lot of times cleaning up the rest of your diet, the rest of your behaviors, lifestyle, and all, it's probably going to happen faster. But it is one of those to where we see much more benefit in the long-term sustained use of Trabilis for their overall benefit. If you are a person who likes to cycle or take something for 2-3 weeks and not for a couple months or whatever, you're going to see very little effect, at least just for Trabilis. highly recommend it. Average person, half a teaspoon. See how your body affects when you get closer to a tablespoon, 3 teaspoons. So definitely good sustained energy. Okay, so switching gears a little bit, but still one of these great compounds, astaxanthin. I didn't mention this one when we were talking about spirulinas and chlorellas, the other algae that are out there. The red algae does a fantastic job at being a tremendous anti-inflammatory for the human body. So when it comes to astaxanthin's function, it is the strongest or king of carotenoids. So when it comes to yellow, orange, red pigmentation to foods, this is the heaviest beta-carotene promoting compound out there in the natural world. So just like we talked about vitamin C in camoberry, SOD in chaga, some of these things that literally are the powerhouses of certain compounds, astaxanthin is the one that has the largest array and concentration of a carotenoid. So these carotenoids are what do a fantastic job of reducing inflammation, improving overall joint health, skin health, fantastic for a lot of internal digestion inflammation, IBS conditions, things of that nature. Definitively used as an eye nutrient. I think that's where it got a lot of its initial study, was more for eye health, for anti-inflammatory in the actual eyes. Definitely going to work on brain health for overall body and muscle fatigues. The unique thing we found, though, is that there actually is a ceiling or a maximum dose on astaxanthin of about 12 to 15 milligrams per day for the average person. So most people are pretty good for feeling the effects of astaxanthin with about 5 to 8 milligrams, but we have seen that there can be certain inflammation kind of or lack thereof inflammation issues if you go too heavily, too long with astaxanthin. So it's definitely one of those where try to keep that dosage within about 12 milligrams. If you're really trying to use astaxanthin as one of your main anti-inflammatories. It is sourced from an algae. If you're a person who doesn't do well with certain seafood products, this might not be the best idea for you to find anti-inflammatory function. But it is definitely one of those combined with turmeric. We see a great benefit in the human body for getting a small dose of astaxanthin with a large dose of turmeric. We can see definitive benefits there. And a lot of times we're seeing studies that are actually focused on dementia, Alzheimer's conditions, and the actual inflammation of the brain stem, brain system, meningitis, or even vaccine damage is another one where we're seeing a lot of benefit from astaxanthin. We have a really good product here where we've actually blended the omegas, omega-3, with the EPA, DHA, DPA, and astaxanthin together. So you can kind of get a full flex omega donor with the astaxanthin anti-inflammatory function. So it's definitely one of those where try that out if you haven't or if you're interested in using astaxanthin on a routine basis. But definitely a really good herb for or algae for anti-inflammatory.
Now what's the name of that package?
That's either the omega-3 that we have up top there, or we have the isolated, should be isolated astaxanthin right there by itself.
Okay.
So, astragalus is the next herb that we're going to talk about. Or again, astragalus, astragalus, again, I don't know. Astragalus, yeah. Sure, I know there's one person that said astragalus, and that's what. But the unique thing is, again, is that this adaptogen is a very good material for immune stress, emotional stress, really good as another antioxidant donor for the general body when it comes to diabetic condition. Really works well as a active infection stabilizer. So it's definitely one of those to where we see people who can take it while they're currently under any kind of upper respiratory infection. So we see some definite benefits there. Can be a diuretic, so it's great on people who are actually having edemias to where they're holding on or being fluid retention or fluid filled. We are seeing a lot of, again, research into diabetic fighting, heart disease issues, allergies, asthmas. Definitely one of those where I would say the best thing with the astragalus is lung function. You can do everything from putting it directly into hot water and decocting it as an actual tea, to getting something that's more on the powderized system, and actually using this on a routine basis as another mix-in. We have this in our Vitality blend, as well as by itself on a routine basis. So we really want people to understand that this is a great place to go to if you're experiencing any kind of active lung infection, sinus issues, upper respiratory general conditions. So this is definitely that herb to consider using on a routine basis if you suffer from seasonal allergies, asthma, those types of lung issues. So another great concept here is that cordyceps mushroom, reishi mushroom, astragalus blended really, really well together. So we can see that starting to work. Get adaptogen, so no major issues with the overuse or overfunction in the body. Kind of the good benefits there. Passion flower. Okay, so like we were talking about Travilus before, passion flower has this great secondary benefit to be able to actually be an anti-aromatase compound. So if you're a high estrogenic person and you know from blood testing or saliva testing that you have an overabundance of estrogen, then passion flower extracts is probably the best stabilizer for getting your testosterone production to be protected. So in low T, fearful or diagnosed men, this is the starting point for a lot of them to begin the process of undoing the aromatization in their body, whether it's from plastics, pesticides, their own environmental issues, eating too much flaxseed, whatever it could be that they've been exposed to that's caused high estrogen levels. Start with the passion flower first, because they're probably producing some testosterone. But the idea is you just have to go in and protect what's there. So when PSA values rise, and that's the big indicator that we're seeing low testosterone function, then the idea is begin with passion flower as the actual treatment system versus boosting testosterone, which could just be aromatazing right back into estrogen and feeding that loop that we were talking about before. A lot of people use passion flower as well for brain neurotransmitter stabilization, for a really good sleep aid, for an insomnia solution. I use this a lot of times for people who are, especially postpartum, but any type of high-level trauma, any type of issue where the body or emotionally you're going through just an over-excitation of the body, I would say passion flower is a little bit easier to take than a lot of stronger herbs like kava or valerian, or taking a routine melatonin capsule. So try passion flower first. It's gentler and has other side benefits to the body.
Do you have that here?
Yes, that's in our balance that we have up there.
Oh, okay.
Balance is our passion flower extract.
And that would be like a full tincture a day, or?
We actually recommend 3 times a day to start.
Oh.
Because most people who have an issue, you've really got to work to stabilize that aromatization level, and you've got to kind of overdo it at first and see the body balance.
That's what I've been doing. I would only do it in the morning.
Yeah. So you'll feel an effect much faster, especially if you take like a concentrated 2 to 3 weeks of doing it very routinely, 3 to 5 times a day. Yeah. You'll feel that. But that's definitely one of those where you can see that effect. The unique thing in using it routinely is it actually gives you a pretty good indication if you start to develop any kind of face style acne. That's usually where your hormones are actually changing in your body. So just like when you go through puberty as a child, the funny thing is when you start affecting the hormones, you're going to see a lot of times that reaction, that relationship. And that's one of those to where the balance is actually having an effect on either dropping, lowering the actual testosterone and estrogen balance inside the body. So it's one of those where a couple little breakouts is actually potentially a good fit. There is some other ways of using things like lucuma and maca with the passion flower extract in order to remove excess hormone that's not supposed to be in the body. And that will help alleviate any of the actual breakout conditions that are occurring from affecting.
But just by using that, eventually you'll balance
It'll
out.
balance out. Correct.
Now, that's a dropper?
Yeah.
And how much you?
One dropper 3 to 5 times a day. So that's the average.
You guys need to make them bigger.
We try. We're trying on most of them. We usually have a big balance. I think it's a big balance.
Yeah, I think you
in the back.
normally have a big balance, yeah.
Yeah.
A bigger one than that.
So passion flower, great for helping protect
Can you do
testosterone.
like the tea?
You can. You can.
So like if you can
It's
tie
not
it
as
in
strong.
bulk?
Yeah, it's not as strong that way.
Oh, okay.
The extracts are preferred, and we have found that the actual chrysalis compound, which is the main anti-aromatase compound, is better extracted than alcohol. So the teas are great for mood stabilization and really, really amazing for balancing overall stress conditions in the body. But the actual best benefit for the hormones is to do the alcohol tincture. So we mentioned a little bit before regarding the use of holy basil, ashwagandha for blood sugar stabilization, licorice. Cinnamon is another great natural way of getting your body to keep its overall glucose levels in a balanced system. Cinnamon is also naturally antiviral. Antimicrobial, so you can expect a lot of balance in the intestines if you're using cinnamon routinely. And this can be anything from cinnamon water, to where you're actually boiling cinnamon in water like a tea, and then drinking the water that's left over from that. The big caution piece in this is that do not eat any other style of cinnamon than Ceylon cinnamon. All other cinnamons actually cause a toxicity compound to be produced inside the liver. And if you get an exorbitant amount of that, it'll shut your liver down.
Okay, other than this one?
Ceylon cinnamon is the only edible cinnamon.
Really?
And actually most of the other cinnamons that are marketed in the store, Cassia, Saigon, all of those are not even of the cinnamon family. They're barks that taste similar but are completely different plants, and hence they're toxic.
Oh my god, you have been doing it.
So,
I bought the big one from Costco.
yeah.
Thinking I was,
Problems.
good.
But
You
will
can
it
still-
say if it's the right kind or no?
It should say Ceylon, if it is, but you can still boil and drink the cinnamon water. But it's funny because here's my way of showing you this. Take about a tablespoon of the cinnamon that you bought, put it in the pot of water and boil it and let it and boil for like 2 minutes, just about 2 minutes, simmer. And then drain the water off. And literally at the bottom of the pan will be this gelatinized sludge that is the material that will stick inside the liver and block your liver's function in the bile
Oh
ducts.
my goodness.
So
My goodness.
it's a very interesting game on, again, Ceylon cinnamon. There were, I think, in history, 2 or 3 wars.
Now, why is that allowed to be sold then?
Because no one.
There's a lot of stuff
Ask-
in our.
I get it.
Not to be sold.
Yeah, I
I
get
know.
it.
Yeah, cinnamon's the least of
Yeah.
your worries, truthfully. But it's one of those where a great cautionary tale, because a lot of people, one of the big things I know that's extremely frustrating for me is when people come at their health in a natural way. They were told, oh, cinnamon's great for, and then they start doing it, and either they can really hurt themselves, like not just, really damage their bodies. So it's one of those, I hate for people to get tripped up on a good concept done in that, executed in the improper way. But average person, anywhere between a quarter, sometimes even less of a teaspoon to half a teaspoon. If you're really trying to do stomach cleansing and you're trying to get rid of a high level of bacteria, then go up to anywhere between a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons. But it's hard to eat that much
So
cinnamon.
I should just throw that out.
I would. I mean, personally.
Would it do my plants good? No?
They're never gonna absorb it all.
No, they don't. I mean, they don't have the same liver functions as you do to cause the issue. It's just there's really you can.
Kill ants or
I was gonna say, you can use it to kill like snails and things like that.
So if I put it around my garden,
Yeah.
so the animals don't come.
Or just put it in a pot and like potpourri, just simmer it.
Just for the smell.
Mm-hmm.
She probably bought a lot too.
It's a big, huge thing.
You know?
I do have some of this though too.
Yeah. Eat that. Season the room with the other stuff.
Oh
So.
my god.
She returned it and they were talking to them.
Yeah, exactly. Tell them to get the bad stuff. Tell them to get the real thing. So lots of studies have been done with cinnamon. It is one of the few that I would say has been, because of it being touted as a great blood sugar balancer, there's a lot of work that's been done in the AMA in order to kind of see how it works. But yeah, cassia, Saigon, not good for the human body. You want to make sure you're taking in the Ceylon cinnamon.
So then even the oils wouldn't be good, other than the smell?
Oils are fine.
Oh, okay, the oils would be fine.
Oils, because there's no actual cinnamon compound in the oil. So that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
What's the other really interesting thing? Pairing cinnamon with licorice or with shatavari is a really, really nice way. For weight loss, cinnamon, cardamom, turmeric is a fantastic blend. So people actually, you can make a really amazing what's called golden milk. Take raw milk, boil a couple teaspoons of cinnamon, a tablespoon of turmeric, and literally a quarter teaspoon of cardamom. And
What's cardamom?
Cardamom, it's a really, really intense spice.
You don't have it here.
No, we use it in the bag of tricks. It is in the bag of tricks. Chai tea has cardamom in it to make that flavor. I'm trying to think of what people eat. It's not like, you know,
We use it in curries.
curries, yeah, because people know fennel, people know like cumin.
It's strong like a liquor, it has a strong.
Yeah, it's really, really potent
Yeah.
flavor.
You
Very,
see
very
it in the
tiny.
stores, it's a spice.
Yeah,
Okay.
but cardamon's
Like a
just
pot.
a really good heatinger, really good for stopping low digestion function and boosting metabolism. So those three mixed into milk is actually a really, really good way of looking at it.
And you don't want milk.
I always, one thing, actually, you know what? There's one good use for the cinnamon that you picked up from Costco.
What?
Throw it into your emergency preparedness kit, because one thing that's really good about cinnamon is it's an anticoagulant.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So if you cut yourself massively and you have no other way of taking care of it, put cinnamon down and then wrap it. And it will cause it will stop the blood and will clot that area and allow for it. So there is some use to it. And it is slightly antimicrobial that way. So, you know, but you just don't want people doing anything that's not good for their bodies.
So don't cut yourself.
That's the best way.
So I could put it on Victor's blood.
He's got those big open sores.
Yeah.
And you could do the water. You could do cinnamon water and have them. It could burn a little bit, but.
At this point, I don't think he cares.
I know. I really don't like the fact he's doing that. But nothing I can say.
I know. Poor guy. Big holes in his feet. He got into an accident, and a motorcycle drug him in the gravel. Yeah, these big holes, and they put a vacuum thing on it to suck up the old blood and debris and that kind of stuff.
Ouch.
And it hurts. He's in a lot of poor guy. I feel so bad for him.
But he should have a complete recovery.
They just want to make sure that it doesn't get gangrened, so they wouldn't have to cut off his foot. He says he wants to cut off now. He goes, I wish they just cut it I said, don't say that, Victor.
No.
He's 25.
No.
Yeah. Because he says it hurts him all the time.
Well, yeah, but
No matter what, I mean, it doesn't go away. It's there. I said, yeah, but you don't want to cut? Come on. It was a fake, so it would probably be better. It was stop.
no. Okay, so the cinnamon, good cautionary tale. This is definitely one of those conversations you can have with just about anybody sitting anywhere, and they'll be really surprised that you're in the know on cinnamon.
Oh, wait till I tell everybody this is bad at Costco.
The next one we're going to talk about is euconia. So euconia bark is a very interesting material that we love to use for not only the silica doning function to the body, so it really does help repair elasticity inside vascular systems, also the connective tissue in our joints. This is definitely one of those that we highly recommend for any expecting or soon-to-be expecting mothers to get euconia into the body in order to develop the tissues of the fetus. A lot of people can see benefits because of the dark, rich minerals, manganese, a lot of the zinc oxides. Again, really good compound for actually working in digestive function for people who have leaky gut syndrome on a routine basis, constant chronic inflammation, ulceration of the actual tissues in the actual intestines. Works really well, again, as a nice diuretic. So we see that there's good function for people who are retaining too much water and being able to actually flush through the system, get the kidneys to work a little bit more effectively. So fertility issues, definitely something where we like to see people, using, this type of system to get their body to be able to produce and that's one of my main recommendations and ways for using it is on average. Anybody who's expecting, anybody who is soon to be expecting to be eating a little bit of euconia on a routine basis. It's very interesting.
And where do you have it? Oh, okay. And that you could do a tea or cold?
Tea is great. Works really well with even, like you say, the blending that you're talking about.
Oh,
mushrooms.
We would go with the mushrooms.
Just go right in with those. Yeah, fantastic way.
Fertility.
We need.
But like I say, the big thing is connective tissue as well too. Anything that's connected. So hair, skin, nails, all the tendons, all of the tight fibers of the body, but also the vascular system, nervous condition, nervous health. Again, very silica rich, and a little easier to come by than horsetail. So horsetail is another good silica rich plant.
The silica is kind of like what you're talking about, silica drops?
Correct, but this is a nice herbal form for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, when you see the bark of the euconia tree, it's very interesting. You could literally almost stretch and spread it, and it literally just will continuously keep fibering out into really long spindles, and that's that great silica material in there that causes it to be ultra flexible.
So hopefully it'll make us ultra.
That's exactly right. Get back the ability to do those cheerleader splits.
Yeah.
A lot of people are familiar with ginger, and ginger is definitely one of the ones I'd say most people have had at least some exposure to, whether it's your ginger ale all the way down to ginger throat drops or things of that nature. Most people don't understand that it has a very good antiviral function, so ginger is really good for cleaning out the stomach, and it also has a tremendous anti-inflammatory function. So a lot of times people can, if they get tired of eating everything with turmeric, can actually have a little bit of ginger during, and ginger's a great juice item versus a dried powder. We usually have that in our
I use the ginger.
the bag of tricks, I believe, and then we have the ginger extract there. But eating just straight whole ginger is definitely one of those where we see a lot of benefits. Definitely going to work mostly in the colon. Has some benefits for everything from diabetic function, heart disease, obesity, dementia condition. Again, I think morning sickness is the place where a lot of people, or any kind of seasickness, motion sickness, they've at least heard of, used, or tried ginger on a routine basis.
Most exposure is sushi.
Oh, yeah, pickled gingers, yeah. Which the reason it's given to you is so you don't get upset stomach after eating all the raw fish. And it's actually cleansing and all the worms that are inside the fish.
Somebody told me that the worms are, so I quit eating it.
You just gotta make sure you chew really well.
Well, I love sushi.
Just more
but
protein.
Not anymore.
But Fukushima killed the concept of sushi.
Yeah.
The worms were there before. So when you were enjoying it, you were enjoying it just fine with worms. Now you know, so you think there's something wrong with it. But
Just more protein.
just more protein. No issues.
Tell me about the worm.
And wasabi, yeah, the wasabi's supposed to kill that.
Help kill it, yeah. But the biggest thing is chew. Just chew. That's all you gotta do.
She doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, but I'm eating those mushroom things, so that's a worm.
That's technically the byproduct of a worm.
Yeah.
So, and they actually just put on the market, which I love because again, I think it's great to stretch your boundaries, is they now have cricket, grasshopper, and mealworm protein bars.
Oh my goodness.
I've had cricket and beetle.
Yeah.
They're gonna come out with a farm in California, they're gonna have their first cricket farm.
Yep. So expected to take the place of
All
chicken.
run
soon.
down.
You bought
Yeah.
300 grams of cricket powder.
For how much?
Wow.
The chicken is and the meat.
Oh yeah, I'd rather eat cricket than chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
It's
god.
like 25 times more protein than I think.
Yep.
Steak.
And they
Really?
require very little dietary or environment.
They use less light and more resources just to produce. Of course, it's like
The
calories.
food of the future is bugs.
Okay.
Be happy.
Yeah.
Where did you guys get the protein, the bar?
They're over at Artisan's Palette.
Where?
Yeah. So you gotta go. Yeah, you gotta go try them.
Where
They're
is
really good. Artisan's Palette over there by Kmart in the Temaku Theater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So.
I'll have to try it.
Second Tuesday of each month, I'll be there, so you can come and try.
Okay, I'll have to try it.
So yeah, good on the ginger. Like I said, great way for people to start the conversation again about the idea of using natural foods for healing is the anti-inflammatory, the dietary or the digestion issues for people who are constantly taking FCAC, any of the heartburn issues, have them try ginger and say, hey, listen, maybe this will be the good effect. Vertigo issues, like I say, motion sickness, the anti-inflammatory ginger does a great job of balancing a lot of the issues inside inside the head when it comes to
Did
everything
ginger
from,
do that?
everything from PMS syndrome to morning sickness.
Because I've been having issues sometimes with,
Vertigo?
not vertigo, when I move around in bed.
Oh, you were telling me about that.
Yeah, and when I switch.
It's a style. Yeah, it's a style of vertigo.
So why does that happen?
Because the fluid in your ear is
It's
inflamed
not-
and not moving. So
So ginger would take care of that?
ginger helps. Yeah, it definitely helps. But
Okay.
ginger, turmeric, all those really good anti-inflammatories.
When you
MSM.
have an inner ear problem, one of the ways they test you is they have you lay down, sit up,
Yeah.
lay down,
And that's
turn your head.
Because you know what, now that you say that, I had a virus once, a long time ago. And it was one of those that when I bent down and got back up, I got dizzy. And I think that's what did it, and it settled there. And it never went away.
And it could just still be inflammation and scar tissue from something like that.
Yeah.
Very true.
But I can't get rid of it, right?
Of course. Of course. Just got to boost your anti-inflammatories and get it to where your body can finally see that. And you're working on that with
Yeah.
everything that you're taking.
They also have some exercises you can do
Oh,
for
yeah.
the inner ear by turning your head sideways, back and forth, trying to get it realigned.
Or you just go jump on the
Yeah.
trampoline and do front flips.
No, there's stuff in there that.
Yeah.
that
The fluids.
Yeah,
Again.
she had to go through that.
Oh, okay.
Did you have to go to a chiropractor or
Occupational
someone?
therapy?
It was physical therapy.
Yeah. Like an occupation.
Really?
Yeah, physical therapy treatments.
Huh.
Because again, the chambers inside the ear, when it comes to that issue, is once fluid gets stuck in one area, one quadrant, then it's really hard for it, because it looks almost like a nautilus, like a snail shell inside the cochlea. And so when fluid gets trapped too far up, you never go through enough rotations in order to get it to settle back down at the bottom. So anytime you move your head like that, it's giving the signals inside the nerve system that you're flipping upside down, and you're really not. You're just standing there. So, yeah. So Shilajit, one of my favorites. The word Shilajit is probably the most powerful word. It is actually the destroyer of mountains and all things of weakness, is the word Shilajit. It's interesting because we find Shilajit in the Himalayan mountains. This is actually the old detritus, as far as we can find, from the bottoms of the ocean that were comprised of all the dead plants and everything settling into the muds and then being pushed up by the uplift from the Himalayan mountains. And this stuff literally is a rock, but it's so organic containing that it oozes out like oil. And again, it's just one of these great ways for extreme mineralization. That's the big piece to connect to the Shilajit. Great for detoxification.
Great for arthritis.
Great for anti-inflammatory, for cellular regeneration. Again, anything that quote unquote makes your body weak, Shilajit is the answer for. Excuse me. So it is one of those to where we, highly recommend this as a routine basis. We put Shilajit in almost every single herbal blend for the products, from Coffee Fix to Vigatrix to NSM, Latte Fix. And if anything is blended by us, there's some Shilajit in it because of that ability to be a high mineral donor, and especially giving you the ability to take in some of the trace elements and trace minerals, things you don't need more than.
Can you overdose on this?
Technically, yes. I find the overdose to be kind of fun. So it's one of those where what I have found is extremely high doses of it. It actually can give you this weird kind of aloof, vibratory sort of extrasensory thing that is very euphoric.
I want some.
Work your way up to it, because if you take a very large dose right away, it's probably just going to flush out of your intestines. But if your body's used to it, and you start with half a teaspoon and a teaspoon, and your body, once you get up to about literally you kind of just sit there and you sort of, you feel stronger, bigger, better. I don't even know how to say that than you've ever. I mean, it's intense, but it is one of those where the big thing here is anti-aging, rejuvenation, metabolism, mitochondrial production, DNA synthesis, blood purification, cellular detoxification, thyroid detoxification. I don't know what it doesn't do, but it's definitely one of those where we get at least a pinch of it in almost every.
Because the NSM has it.
NSM has it. Yep. But you're getting just that little bit on the day-to-day basis.
How do you make it tolerable?
I love the taste of campfire. I don't know what your problem is. No, I mean that's.
Nobody I know. I even tell Colin.
Can you put it in the tea?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Do you have just a bag of it, or is it just
Yep.
in every little?
I think you
Hard
have
to
to
never
respect
remember
it.
we're proper.
Yeah. I think I've seen it. I've seen the bag.
Yeah, I know you just kind of knew one coming in, but it's usually in a small bag like this, and it's kind of odd that I don't see it because I'm almost positive we have some. But yeah, it's got a really good flavor. I mean, again, makes you think. Some people think cow poop. Other people, like I say, I think it tastes like a campfire, so it reminds me of marshmallows. But yeah, see, marshmallows and eat Shilajit. But no, it's definitely one of those where it's tough for people to get their acquired flavors for it. When you're exposed,
But if it's blended in.
but yeah, most people. My wife, I think, is one of those few that she can smell it when I open the bag. To put it in my drinks, and I'm like, oh yeah, more. Come on, let's go. She's like, did you still the Shilajit from like across the room? And I'm like, yeah. So One of the interesting things that we actually just recently brought in that will hopefully be able to let people start sampling and taking home with them is the Shilajit resin. So the actual liquid version of the Shilajit, non-powderized. So there's some extra added benefits and just different ways of using Shilajit. If you are in India, literally you can buy it in everything from the very, very hard rock form to grind down to the powder to the more tarry kind of liquid resin style as well too. One of the interesting stories about understanding Shilajit and its discovery is that they noticed whenever lowland monkeys in the valleys would actually get hurt, they would find their ways up into the actual mountains and they would be scraping the Shilajit off the rocks and licking that. And so it was an interesting observation to where people were going, okay, well, if the monkeys are doing it to heal, then maybe we should too. So it's kind of interesting how we came to understand the way that Shilajit's produced. But really good anti-aging, really good detoxification. Highly recommend you at least start getting the small doses in whatever drink you can. You love stevia to the point to where it's sickening, and then you won't take Shilajit. You're fine.
Well, you think it's sickening, but I don't think it's sickening. It's all in your taste.
It's all in your taste. Yeah. So Mucuna, something that we actually, I would say, I recommend to more people than really any other herb that we have here because I see the effects and the benefits of it. Mucuna is what I would call an extremely relaxing herb for the fact that it contains a compound called L-dopa. And the L-dopa in your body is able to be converted to dopamine, which dopamine is the high euphoria chemical that our body naturally produces, but very rarely gets to have it be excreted in the brain. The interesting problem, but it's also a great thing when you use it in the right way. The reason most addictive substances are addictive is because of the release of dopamine at the time of you ingesting them, taking them, operating with them. So everything from drinking to heroin releases dopamine to the bloodstream, which is why you love it so much. So here's the funny thing. If you're doing green juice and you don't like it really at first, add Mucuna. If you want that to be a new behavior, a new pattern, it'll actually reprogram your body to say, dopamine, good, green juice, good. It's very unique because, again, a lot of people who need to reestablish that right parameters. There's been studies that show that when a mother looks at a newborn, there's a dopamine release, and that's an interesting survival mechanism, obviously, in our bodies. To where again, you love the activity, you love, and that's where it really is amazing for its operation. So I do see this as one of those things. The big research basis for Mucuna is Parkinson's. So anybody who's tremoring, anybody who has major joint dysfunction, muscle dysfunction, atrophy, we see a lot of stabilization to the small nerves that create jittering or tremoring.
This helped John a lot.
Yeah.
With his, he used to shake all the time. I mean, just to get his coffee, he would, shake.
Yeah.
And we thought, because his dad died of Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Okay? And I go, oh no. So when we brought him here, we talked to Joseph, and not a trace.
Yeah.
Not a trace of the shaking.
No need.
But he takes this every day.
No.
In a shake. He likes to put everything together. Except for I told him, don't put the mushrooms together, but I'll make you the tea at night or whatever. But everything else he puts, and he takes it to work, adds water, and shakes it up and drinks it. But this is one of them, and he has stopped the shaking. He doesn't shake anymore. And I mean, it was real visible where he would, do this.
I remember when we first came
Yeah.
So the big pairing here, though, for a lot of is the lion's mane mushroom with its ability to be neurodendritic advancing in order to actually stabilize nerve function, nerve growth with Mucuna. So you can regrow damaged portions and parts of your nervous system and have the dopamine actually stabilize the overall production.
So maybe Victor's
Victor's foot, as well as colloidal gold, and of course magnesium.
Yeah.
Very critical. So silica, sulfur, mucuna.
But you don't have to rub it on the spot.
No, no.
Just on his body
Just
somewhere.
eat it. It'll do its job.
What is it, not
What's that?
What you add to it?
So mucuna, with the lion's mane.
Fine.
Mm-hmm. Really, really good, strong interaction there. Trying to think. You can take mucuna to alleviate or prevent high stress environments. So if you're having a constant interaction with anything from driving to not sleeping well, insomnia issues, use the actual mucuna as a way of stabilizing your mood prior to an event where you know there's going to be extreme stress. So that's one of those where I use that very consistently and very commonly during my whole day-to-day routine. There are other compounds that we talked about that help in mood stabilization with mucuna, as well as the sunflower lecithin for the choline. That's a very wonderful piece. We mentioned lion's mane, and then the B6 complex is another one that they've done a lot of studies on. And this is also for everything from insomnia function, dream state operation, delta wave production for being able to venture. If you're a person who never really gets to go to deep sleep level, B6 and mucuna is a great combination to alleviate those types of issues.
How much do you take?
Start off with half a teaspoon for mucuna, and I would get anywhere between, if you're using like the B complex there, probably 2 teaspoons of the B complex to see how your body will operate, or you get isolated B6 and use like do from like 100 up to maybe 1,000 milligrams of B6 to see where your body might have an effect from. But start off with about half a teaspoon, average person. The other really amazing personal way to kind of use mucuna is to do it straight underneath the tongue. The absorption rate is much faster and definitively more noticeable than putting it into a drink. So
It tastes pretty bad, doesn't it?
I think it tastes like pepper. I'm one of those who thinks chili tastes delicious. And MSN is actually sweet to me, so you know, like
I want the other straight in this.
MSN is I don't know why.
Right with TV.
So,
You know what, too, the iodine, I remember Michael and Steven told me, when you get so much in it and you're starting to balance out with the thyroid, with the iodine,
yeah.
it'll start tasting different to you.
Yes.
I noticed it the other day.
Oh, really?
It started tasting different.
Does it taste like pennies
It
anymore?
does, yeah, it tastes still sweeter, or not really sweet, but just
No, but you're
different.
right. You're very right.
Yeah.
Almost everything that I've found, and again, Chinese medicine I think does this very well. They talk about, and they have that line that says, if you hate the taste of your medicine, it's the best medicine for you. Because again, your body in the current state is so opposed to the energies of what it is that you're eating. And when you become more in line with the balance of those herbs, with those foods.
And I kind of got excited. I go,
Yeah,
it's there.
you're starting to see that and feel that. Because again, the repulsion in taste that you're feeling is the current state trying to keep itself in that place.
Right.
And the more you get pulled in that direction of enjoying and actually bringing yourself to feeling, and getting stabilized and getting balanced, it is so true. So true.
Yeah. It tastes better.
Tastes are a big indicator that the body's actually operating a different way. Again, in our class where we talk about self-diagnostics, we look at the tongue to be a representation of how your body's current state is. And it's interesting, the more you start using superfood, the entire tongue changes. Everything looks different.
I'm going to take a picture.
You do it.
Was it
Definitely.
you're saying it creates dopamine? Helps.
Yeah.
Helps boost and produce dopamine. So PTSD, great operation here. Works well with cacao, choline, rice grain solubles, goji berries. Really, this is one of those few ones that, again, I would say could probably be blended with just about every other herb out there. And the great part about it is it will reinforce your liking and wanting of good nutrition, good habits, and remove the liking that your body had pre-programmed in the dopamine reaction to bad habits. So it's definitely one of those where people can see some really, really big benefits on this. And I love hearing good stories like that with John being able to see his body.
Oh, yeah.
Have you
change.
used it on your kids to make them eat decent stuff?
And their chocolates, yeah. Yeah, I'll give them the cacao with coconut and apple coconut. So, no, it definitely works. It's a great stabilizer. So, rhodiola. Rhodiola to me is so interesting. There's a lot of great history on rhodiola in its function, in its use, on everything from energy stabilization, mood stabilization, nervous system function, intestinal balance. The one thing that I think honestly is so powerful about rhodiola is it actually creates better DNA inside a person by improving the production of a compound called editase. And editase is this particular molecule that actually runs behind your DNA synthesis, and it checks for transcription errors whenever your body's actually making new sets of DNA. Low editase means your body will actually allow for more DNA issues to go through and be replicated more routinely. Higher editase means your body will become cleaner. So it's really interesting how it does so many different operations. I definitely use it for the memory stabilization and the overall mood stabilization function. And I use rhodiola very routinely as a beneficial stimulant when I'm looking for instant energy. It can be used as needed for energy. And just like ashwagandha, when we were talking about that in the beginning, it eventually will just cause you to go to sleep if you overdo it. I'm weird, so I did try to make that system happen. It took me drinking 2.5 bottles of what we produce, so just about 70 milliliters, to actually go to sleep or to feel tired from. So very rare is someone going to be able to do that, and it could just be, again, my body's interactions. But works well with the mucuna for depression issues. Is very anti-aging, anti-inflammatory, very good for an antioxidant. People who are experiencing low vitamin D probably need rhodiola more than anything, so that's something that I would say they go hand in hand together because of the issues with low vitamin D being connected to low immune function, high cancer rates, and depression issues. Rhodiola is a much more rapidly absorbed and easier to utilize compound for getting your system into a better mood system, better mood function, and balancing what's being affected by the vitamin D loss. So we definitely see some great
And
benefits.
rhodiola is in what?
Compensate for vitamin D.
No, it doesn't compensate for it, but if you're experiencing the effects of low vitamin D now, it can be a really good way of starting to feel better while you're changing and taking the high quality vitamin D and getting your system better balanced.
And what is this in?
What's that?
How do you
By
package it?
itself, the rhodiola right there in the tincture level.
Oh, okay.
So, really good for people who are trying to stabilize their serotonin. If you've been on an SSRI for a long period of time, or really even at all, definitely a great way of getting the system works well with camu and that function. So camu will promote more serotonin. Rhodiola will actually balance the uptake of the serotonin. And I have known people who've used it for weight loss in terms of the energy and the appetite stabilization as well too. So it does work in that system. Immune function, again, adaptogenic. Take as much as you need. Start off with 1 to 2 teaspoons or droppers at a time, and see how your body functions on 3, 4, 5, 10. You take it from there. but the idea is, again, see how much it takes for your body to have a noticeable or functional reaction before you can say, and I mean, there probably are for people out there, herbs that it just wouldn't matter how much they take, they may not feel anything from it. And that's perfectly fine too. But try, see what we can do before you jump on to taking something that's possibly damaging to the human system. But meditates, that's the big power. And then literally, I don't tell you, I don't, what's that? Meditates. Don't know why more people don't buy it. I don't think they just don't know what it does. So that's the only thing is that I'm constantly going, yeah, there's always rhodiola, and well, what's that do? And I go, greatest thing ever. You know, it actually fixes your DNA. So chaga mushroom and rhodiola work really well. It's funny, they grow very similar in similar environments. So Siberian chaga, Siberian ginseng, and Siberian rhodiola. All three plants grow in the same spot, and all three do a lot of the same functions for benefiting human health. If anybody here has ever experienced Essiax tea, and the very high Siberian adaptogenic tea is a blend of what we just talked about. Euthro, chaga, rhodiola, a couple of the different herbs. Shatavari, a very unique one. This is the asparagus root. Really good for feminine hormone balance. That's generalizing to an extreme way of saying that just that gender benefits from this. It really just promotes overall hormone stabilization. And just we have a society, again, high estrogen production, lots of aromatase, lots of plastic, lots of pesticides, lots of stress, and a lot of us need Shatavari. I use Shatavari actually as a nighttime mood stabilizer in a way for enhancing sleep function. Because it's really good for balancing the kapha in the body under the Ayurvedic medicine system, which is our lovey, happy-go-lucky, steadfast side of life. So people are using this as well for everything from blood sugar stabilization, digestive function. So you can see some other, all roots are always going to be grounding. And again, bringing energy down out of the hyperanxiety issues. So people do see some good benefits from this in conjunction with using things like maca, using reishi. We talked about licorice before. Really, a lot of the herbs go well with it, but I would definitely say things like maca and the balanced tincture are probably two of the stronger ones. All right. So, I want to show people something that's unique about the research. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Most of the other herbs that we have, I think we're anywhere between 1 to maybe 2 pages at the most. Turmeric literally is one of these plants, one of these herbs that I just don't know why we don't eat 2 to 3 pounds of it a month for the benefits. There isn't anything that we don't see as a disease issue that's not caused by some level of inflammation. So turmeric is still one of the strongest anti-inflammatory compounds out there that we can really love and enjoy the taste on everything from scrambled eggs to rice to just making golden milk, like we had talked about, and boiling it on the stove there and adding turmeric in for extra anti-inflammatory function. Turmeric plant is very unique that it actually requires the presence of black pepper, and it doesn't have to be a lot, but it does have to be present. So black pepper ground or black pepper oil, some type of black pepper and turmeric. It literally is the difference between it not activated and just flowing through the bloodstream and actually being activated and working inside your cellular system.
Does this have black pepper, or you add it?
The turmeric powder actually I don't believe does. I don't know if we started.
Was it liquid?
The liquid does.
Yeah.
The liquid we do.
Yeah, I think
But this for the cooking and for adding to compounds definitely needs to still be mixed with oil, which is the preferred way for ingesting turmeric, something that has fat content in it, and black pepper. So look at the standard Indian style food production. Every type of curry out there has always got oil and pepper in it. Again, this is one of the few herbs that actually has been so extensively studied for possibly becoming a prescription drug, and how many prescription drugs it actually removes from the necessity of a person's body is amazing. This, hands down, is outproducing most of the antidepressants, anti-inflammatories, heart medications, blood pressure medications, diabetic condition. I don't know, and so far it's just like chaga mushroom. It's literally better than almost every other pharmaceutical that we have ever come to produce on the market. It's really interesting, all of the details that it goes to, from the anti-cancer function to even genetic and or mutagenic issues, to where we see the ability for the body to unravel a long-standing, what we thought to be impossible change in the body, is actually getting the DNA to reproduce itself in a much better sense. So it actually can work, especially with things like rhodiola, chaga mushroom, glutathione from rice bran solubles. Those four complex together have all the ability to actually fix most tumor style, especially cancers of the body. Again, it's one of those where cancer's kind of tough, because with like Evelyn, she has a cellular issue that's called cancer, but really it's improper function of a normal blood cell that's not doing its job. But it is one of these to where, and I'm sure you take turmeric on a routine basis, right?
I didn't know if I'd bring it up, but turmeric, one of my biggest problems is platelets. And it lowers platelets, as does ginger, garlic.
What do you mean lowers platelets?
It's
The clotting factor.
increases them to no platelets, apparently
Platelets, yeah, they
you
will.
get a scab or something. Platelets that did that, that, hung together. Anyway, but,
Now, is that including like curcumin extracts? Or is that just turmeric, the whole plant?
I just read turmeric, one of the things, something I looked up online.
That's like fun to that.
But,
It's
yeah.
true, I can totally do that.
Like, no, yeah, you don't want turmeric.
I have things with curry though,
Yeah.
and with turmeric, I just can't resist.
Yeah, it's really good.
She's been taking the liquid turmeric, and she feels
Yeah,
a difference in her joints and
Good.
Joseph, what do you think about, because my parents are doing it, they've been doing it for months, probably a year. But my mom, she would, boil the water for 10 minutes, and she does put a fat in it. And then when you put it back in the refrigerator, do you still have to do it for 10 minutes, or did you already extract it the first time?
So she's making like
She's
a
making
turmeric
like a batch, she's making a massive batch.
like a tea of turmeric?
Yeah.
No, you don't have to reboil it.
Okay.
Again, turmeric's a heating herb, and all Ayurvedic herbs, the concept is the life force in them is better energized when they're warm.
Okay.
So even when people do like turmeric juicing, that's where I think the black pepper activates it in a way to where I don't know if that matters anymore, versus the actual heating function. But that's definitely one of those to where you don't have to reboil it 10 minutes, but I would warm it and get it energized again, and get it working. I
will say this, that you had an Ayurvedic chap in here one time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, that's my turkey tail mushroom, I'm gonna make that tonight. And I have pomegranate seeds with ginger in it. And I just do it even though it says, ginger lowers platelets, but it's supposed to help me and actually to increase platelets. But I guess when you combine it with the pomegranate seeds, that's what they found. Ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How long does it stay in your system?
Turmeric?
So like if you miss a day or two, does it kill you?
No. Turmeric will never kill you.
Or the lack of.
The lack of, you can probably start to feel inflammation come back to the body within a day or so, I would imagine. I know for myself, if I'm probably 3 days, I don't have a lot of inflammation on a general day-to-day basis. Exercise literally is the only thing that I do that will probably, really rev up inflammation in my body. And 2 days afterwards, I know I always go very heavily using MSM and turmeric and all mixed together. But it is one of those to where there is something that it's not going to take the inflammation out that you generate on a day-to-day basis and eliminate it to where it will never come back. So if you're using it especially for like the knee function, for joint tissue, and ultimately the concept here of understanding is that the country of India, their rate of dementia, Alzheimer's, psychosomatic disorders is less than 1% of their population. They have so few cases or conditions of brain fat degeneration and even damage from traumatic brain injury and things of that nature being reversed by the content of turmeric they have in their general diet. So heart disease, non-existent, IBD, non-existent, so many, fantastic ways of knowing that the culture that has turmeric ingrained in it has so little inflammatory issue that their bodies are generally healthier. But it is a constant induction. It's one of those where you've got to be using it routine.
So if I take 12 drops, should I increase that?
I always would say yes, because you, again, or look at it the idea that you've got some turmeric on like rice or on eggs or in other food forms, besides taking just the liquid extract, to where you can see that balance, to where you're not just focused on one vehicle for it to be able to get in the body. And then that way you can have it 2-3 times a day and actually not feel like you're always going into it. But turmeric's definitely, there is no cap or ceiling on the amount of turmeric to be taken into the body. So Evelyn might be the only person here who obviously suffers from something very specific about not depleting platelet counting to become hemophilic. So that's one of those where obviously that's a little different. But other than that, most people, for getting above and beyond their inflammation, more the merrier.
I learned that, or once that, it takes like 2 to 3 months for like when you're doing something natural for your body to like kick in, and then for you to start feeling the effects of that. What do you think about that? I mean,
it depends on the compound.
Yeah.
And it depends on the system. So like skin regeneration, it's about 30 to 60 days. So if you have a skin issue and you're starting to use things like rhodiola, astragalus, acai, anytime, then it takes that much time for the actual cells to start integrating the new food compounds and then to repair or replace the ones that are currently there. So like when I work with people who have hepatic issues, the liver regenerates itself every 2.5 to 3 years. So if you have a major liver disorder and you're finally starting to take care of your liver, it's going to be a couple years until you're going to really see, or maybe in like scanning, testing, or anything, a noticeable change. Because those cells have to reprogram themselves. You might feel better in the meantime because you're not adding any extra stress. So people who have hepatitis or major cirrhosis or fatty liver disease or anything of that nature, you're working and hopefully experiencing benefits until then. But until you might see noticeable changes. Average person, I would say, again, Ayurvedic medicine, 40 days is like their understanding. They say the first 20 is to stop creating the problem. The next 20 is to start having the new benefits. So that's a very common number we hear. And I think in a lot of our Western medicine style, we do 30 days for everything.
We take antibiotic and we get fast results. Whereas like something natural, it just takes time. Because I know a lot of people like, I don't take turmeric because it doesn't work. Well, how long were you on it for?
Oh yeah,
they were
like 2
weeks.
weeks.
And then they give up. They said it doesn't work. And so I think that's something that people.
And a lot of times they're not willing to do, say, 5 to 10 grams of turmeric a day. To where, you can make golden milk and, like I say, throw in 2 tablespoons of turmeric and go, and literally, what will happen for myself, again, I do everything on extremes, so that's one of those big benefits I have, is drink about half a bottle. and literally you will float for a little while. It's we nicknamed it blissing on turmeric because there's so little inflammation in the actual brainstem that you have this freedom, this clarity, and this creativity system that kind of starts to activate inside the body. But you got to eat enough of it, and in the high extract concentration. Understand the difference is that we're getting about 6 or 7% curcumin in the powder. That's just the whole herb by itself. When we get to the extract version, that's 26%. So you're seeing a multiplication factor of 4 times be stronger in the extract version than what you're getting here.
But I thought when you mix it with the fat and the pepper, you're getting 1,000% from the curcumin.
3,000% absorption in the functionality of it, not percentage of the curcumin. No. So that's where you're still limited by what the plant has in its contents. And standard store-bought turmeric a lot of times is either below 1, at the most we see is 2. So even
From the store.
From the store, yeah, the store
Not
standard
fresh,
turmeric.
because I buy fresh too.
Again, same sort of issue though. You're still only getting about 1% curcumin. So if you're looking for high-level anti-inflammatory, the functionality of the actual plate, because most turmeric's now grown in greenhouse conditions, so it's not even naturally grown. So
I try to grow mine every time I get through. I try to grow it.
Yeah, so it is one of those where there is some benefits to that and some differences. But that's the way to try very heavily